Hey guys, what's up? It's Cheer here, part of Team Afterlife. Today I'll be bringing you my opinions on the top 10 decks that will be played at YCS Atlanta coming up in the upcoming format. Of course, it's post Legacy of the Valiant, so please keep in mind of that whenever you listen to this video. And I have a special guest with me. He is an up-and-coming Yugi tuber, and he's going to go on and introduce himself.
Yeah, hey guys, it's Thomas Daniels. Like I said, new up-and-coming YouTuber. Check out my channel, it's just my name. But let's just go ahead and hop right into our list.
Alright, so for the first decks, the first two are very similar in what they do, and that's spam overpowering board control once they get set up, and that's Dark World and Fire Kings. Both of these decks are really annoying, and they have access to a lot of powerful cards. Dark World has access to cards like Skill Drain, Deck Devastation Virus, Mind Crush, Drag Down, and Eradicator. But yet Fire Kings have access to cards like Rekindling, Wolfbark, and Garunix.
Yeah, both decks pretty much do the same thing. They reoccur big beaters, and they have very reactive cards, as in EEV, Deck Devi, and then in Fire Kings we have Circle, and Generation Shift, I think that's its name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they're pretty much the same deck. They reoccur big beaters. They both lose themselves, and they both have a lot of side deck options that come in. Defissure, Soul Drain, Debunks. Enough said about them.
Which means that most of the time they're going to be citing in 3 MSTs, even though Fire Kings at this point actually main 3. Honestly, I see Fire Kings doing more than not Fire Fist, but Fire Kings doing more in Dark World, mainly because Fire Kings can get out of sticky situations easier in Dark World because of Onslaught and Circle. So, I see Fire Kings doing really good at this event. Dark World not so much, but it's worth a mention because I do believe there'll be one top 32 Dark World player up there, just because the deck literally explodes and says what the fuck to your opponent and they can't do anything about it. The next deck is Prophecy. Myself does not like this deck. I can see it maybe top 32ing, but other than that, I don't see this deck doing much.
Well, I see Prophecy being a little bit like of a dark horse. Also, you got to think about who's piloting it. If more of the top pro players decide that they want to play Prophecy at the event because they're comfortable with it, someone like Lucas Peterson topped YCS in Toronto. Yeah, like the deck generates hand control, and it generates control to the board too. When you can start dropping big beaters like World, Priestess, they can pop and just pop punch monsters. Fate, Wisdom to stop your stuff. They can search through their whole deck. It's a pretty much shuffle deck. It's pretty much here, play solitaire for a couple turns, and then drop your giant beater, and then try to win from there. So I mean, yeah, spellbooks are a little under the radar in my opinion. I think they're still a really powerful deck, and they can still do a lot. But that's just my opinion on them.
Because Fate to 1 didn't hurt.
Not at all.
Next 3 decks that we're going to talk about are the 3 decks that will be the best, in my honest opinion. I think he agrees for the most part too, and those are Mermails, Boojins, and Fire Fist, and we're going to start with Mermail. Mermail is this meta's version of Dragons to the closest that we can get. They spam level 7 beaters. They generate advantage off little cards such as Marksman and Heavy Infantry. They're very OTK centric, and they're very, very consistent.
Yeah, Title Going 1 does hurt the deck a little. It doesn't kill them completely to where they won't be considered the best deck. They still have a lot of good plays, and Gaius is really, really hard to get over this format with a lot of the top decks. So consider Gaius a big threat. And also, the Sphere is very interactive with the deck, and with them being able to have back row cards such as Warning and Bottomless and Compulse and like Torrentials, you don't want to blind MST because you're afraid of the Sphere. So I mean, it takes away a lot of the MSTing their central cards because you don't want to end up hitting the wrong thing. So yeah, Mermail's a really, really scary deck in the sense that they can just pretty much do whatever they want. Because like they can spam big beaters, they can control board with little things. The deck can do what you want it to do. That's why it's the best deck right now.
Hands down. Nothing. I don't really see this deck having bad matchups against anything except for Fire Fist. And just because Fire Fist can just side in everything that Mermails don't like to see.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Boojins is the next deck. I feel Boojins will be the top of the power, middle of the power 3. possibly bottom, depending on the popularity of Gravekeepers. Um,
Yeah,
Yamato
it
is
all
the
depends
engine.
on Gravekeepers. Let me hop in right here. If Gravekeepers are a prevalent deck, and I believe the deck's all hype, but if everyone hypes it and plays it in Atlanta, you're not going to see a lot of Bujin players, and Bujins will run under the radar for a little bit longer, because Gravekeepers will fall off because they're not a powerful deck. We'll talk about that more later. But Bujins have a lot of really, really good support coming out, and they have a lot of really good setup plays. And if Bujin gets going, there's not many decks that can shut Bujins down. So, like I said, depending on the prevalence of Gravekeepers, Bujins will probably sit at the top of the tier list for the rest of this format and probably next.
Definitely. They're not going to hit Tenki, mainly because they just put it back to 3. And if they want to keep this Bujin support rolling, they're definitely going to have to keep Tenki at 3.
And
Um,
Yamato at 3.
Yamato is ridiculous. The whole engine is that one card. It's stupid. And Mikazuchi's also stupid, and so is Asorda. And the 3 exceeds that we have, Kachisuchi, Tsukiyomi, and Susiano, are also really ridiculous. Crane's an honest. Centipede's an actual, like, MST. Turtle is a negator. Is basically a safe zone for one card. I mean, the deck's ridiculous. Like, I hate playing against Bujins, but like Tom said, depending on Gravekeeper's prevalence and Fire Fist, because Fire Fist doesn't have a bad matchup against them either, will depend on the Bujins and how well they perform this format. Personally, I think Bujins will be in the top 3 no matter what decks are played, just because of how good they are. Um, 3 Honest, well, 4 Honest technically is ridiculous, along with 3 Rhoda. This deck shouldn't be as powerful as it is, but it is what it is. The next deck that also has 3 Rhodas is Fire Fist. Fire Fist is my personal take on the best deck. It's my favorite deck this format, and it's just so versatile on what it can do.
Yeah, Fire Fist is one of the decks that they're never going to blow you out of the water, but just how controlling they are is ridiculous. Because Bear can take your monsters, Gorilla can take your back row, Dragon Tenki's a +1 that can set a 1k booster to make sure you can't beat me down. They play the staple traps that's going to just shut your opponent off from being able to take control of you. Tiger King's really good because it can, it's pretty much the skill drain thing. It can just stop everything, which is pretty good right now. It's really under the radar. I mean, it's not under the radar, but like the way people were thinking of playing the deck is under the radar. I see it as a control deck. Wolfbark's nice, yeah, it adds a little bit of speed to the deck, which it needed. Instant Tiger Kings are nice. But the deck's really controlly, and the reason why I think it will be the best deck, it will be the best deck in my opinion, but it won't be the most represented, because everyone's jumping on Mermails, because of course Mermails were untouched, and also, people have played them in the past, and people have seen Mermail over Fire Fist for so long, that people are going to still jump on Mermail over Fire Fist, where I think Fire Fist has the edge because of Wolfbarks and other cards like that.
Fire Fist is also one of the most versatile side decks this format, because they have access to a lot of cards and they can side in a lot of cards against certain decks. As in Prophecy versus and Gravekeepers, they can side in Closed Forests. But in terms of Dark Worlds, where they're going to fear Skill Drain and Drag Down, they can side in MSTs and cards like Maxi for Mermail, and Defissure and Soul Drain. So the deck can legitimately side in for every other deck in this format, to where it doesn't have a problem with them.
Yeah, I agree. I think Fire Fist will be a top deck this format. They're too versatile. And when we're speaking Fire Fist, I'm speaking 4-axis, because I don't think the 3-axis builder is going to do too much with one spirit. But yeah, I'm talking 4-axis Fire Fist in that way. And getting a third Tenki is so helpful. You wouldn't believe how much help just the one Tenki gives to the deck.
It's definitely ridiculous how much more consistent Fire Fist went. It went from like a tier 2, maybe high 1.5, a very low 1.5 deck, to a tier 1 to possibly best deck in the format. 3 Tenki is so nice, and just the recurability with Wolfbark and Dragon is ridiculous. And the amount of, like, there are OTKs with Fire Fist, but they require a one monster setup prior, so to be fair, there are no real OTKs, but it can definitely put 8k points of damage on board. No problem. So, Fire Fist, best deck. Bujin's second, third. Mermail, second, third, in my opinion. Time will tell. We may be completely wrong, and we may see the next deck, Harpies, be the best deck. But I doubt that. Harpies is one of those decks that requires its first normal summon to do anything. Um, and it's bad when a deck can legitimately just lose to a trap hole.
Yeah, with Harpies, I've had a lot of play testing against them because my locals are filled with them. Um, the deck loses to like closed forest trap hole. Because the deck's real power is being able to just destroy all of your opponent's back row while going plus with monsters. So if you have something to stop their initial normal summons, their deck's not that big of a deal. Or if you can draw your MSTs and hit their hunting grounds, which are searchable. The deck can like generate ridiculous control with Draco Sacks. Draco Sack being a really good card right now. But like I said, Chandler is their big card. They can't really do anything without Chandler. They just sit and spin off one monster each turn unless they egotist you, and most players are only playing one egotist. The Hysteric Signs make it scary to blind MST back row because I've seen people set them things, and I've done it, and it just makes me feel like a terrible player. The deck can just go so hard, so quick, and then if you do stop, like, there's sometimes where I've, like, waited and then been able to, like, get all their field spells out and then shred the whole field, and then it's just like Hysteric Party, discard Sign, and they just spam 5 more Harpies back in your face. So, I mean, the deck has potential to do a lot with really easy access and a really, really ridiculous rank 4s, like Lightning Chidori and Harpy's Pet Phantasmal Dragon, but I don't consider the deck to be overpowered, because if you know what you're doing, you can play out, and with a good sideboard, you can play out a Harpies.
I see the deck being probably the highest of the 1.5 decks, mainly because of its back row destruction ability and the ability to spam Draco Sacks like no other deck.
Yeah, it's definitely that, and Mythic Dragon Rulers are still the top, the easiest ways to spam out Dracos.
Which I don't think Mythic Dragon Rulers would do anything in this format, so that's why they're not on this list, in case anybody's wondering. But Harpies and Madolches were not on my top 10 decks of the format list, but yet here they are, and now we're going to talk about Madolche. Teammate Tom actually plays Madolche, and I can tell you one thing: the deck's very annoying. The fact that if you destroy their Stratos, they get their Stratos back. This deck doesn't lose advantage off cards like Darkhold, Torrential, etc. This card actually gains advantage because they go back into the deck, and with Ticket they go back to the hand, or Chateau, whichever one it is. I don't know. I just when I see the two spells, I just admit defeat. The deck's very consistent. The deck is very fast. It can OTK really fast, like one. It's basically a New Age Wind-Ups.
Yeah, it's a New Age Wind-Ups, but, I mean, I still think Wind-Ups do it better. I'll still take an old school with Wind-Ups, but like I was saying, Madolche is a really, 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 really fast, consistent deck. Like, when they want to, the deck can do it at once. If it wants to be fast, it can be fast. If the deck wants to control you, it can control you. With Ticket and Chateau, both cards are really ridiculous, and with them being searchable is really even more ridiculous. With Angeli coming out, I know we're not talking about that yet, but Angeli will break the deck in my opinion. But like going to this YCS, I do expect to see Madolche players because like Madolches can cause a lot of problems for the top decks with them being able to go Tiramisu and spinning a bunch of stuff out of the way, and with it being able to randomly OTK and control boards, and to be able to side deck the stuff it can side as well. The deck can easily like pop in like whatever it wants to and be able to wreck a lot of the matchups. And like you said, it doesn't lose advantage by its cards dying. It just pops the cards back to their hand, and it lets them reestablish board control and just go off again.
Another thing I want to mention about Madolche is like what you said about Tiramisu. Two of these decks in this list, actually 4 of them that I can see as of right now, pretty much lose to Tiramisu. Dark Worlds because they lose their Grapha spamming, Fire Kings because they lose their Garunic spamming, Prophecy because they lose their Spellcasters in the graveyard. True, you put Little Blue Boy back, but they can't Tower Recycle if you have a way to get rid of the one on the field. And then Boojins because they lose their Turtles and such. So those 4 decks really get hurt by Tiramisu. But I don't think Madolche will be in top 32. I just don't feel the deck's got enough.
Thomas is there, there'll be a Madolche deck in the top 32.
I think there will be a lot of Madolche there, just because YCS is our relatively big event, obviously. So there will probably be a couple Madolche players. I'd say around. Well, I say the most represented decks will be Mermails and Fire Fist. So actually, I don't know. The deck actually has good Fire Fist matchup because Bear doesn't hurt it. Neither does running it over with like cards like Megalo. So the deck will definitely be represented, but I just don't know how well it will be represented compared to the other decks on this list. Especially the next 2, which one of them's Geargia. Gear is a deck I just recently started playing. I know the OTKs. They're relatively simple, so stopping him's not the hard part. They lose to Maxi, and they lose to Valor. The deck's good, but it's one of those decks that I feel that everybody knows how to stop it, and everybody knows when to stop it.
Yeah, I personally have the deck, and if you check out my channel, it is for trade, by the way. Geargia is one of those decks that can just go real crazy and spam, and they play cards like 7 tools to make sure their spam doesn't stop. You say Maxi and Valor is a problem. I see Valor and Maxi's not a problem because if you're not going to draw something to stop them from winning, they're still going to win. Gear is like an Abyss Sphere on steroids that can get you instant access into your Gear Gauntexes to get you your Birdman for your combos. And with you only actually needing 2 accelerators for most of your combos, you only really have to get armor once. The deck can just generate a lot of control and pluses between armor and Mark II, and the deck can like OTK out of nowhere. So it is a scarier deck of the format, but with Firefist running around with Bear, they can just get armor out of there, and with Mermail running around with marksmans and infantry, they can just go over it, is another problem. Geargia does have some really favorable matchups against some of the other meta decks. I kind of like my Geargia match more against Mermail because of the way you can side deck in Geargia, and also the way the deck can OTK, and also the way the deck can just go armor set 5 go. And of course you're going to pop, but also they play Call of the Haunted and stuff like that, and Gearbox can also help produce OTKs. Geargia also is one of those overhyped decks. I feel everyone's like, oh, Geargia tier 1, tier 1. No, I don't think they're a tier 1 deck. I think they're going to sit right behind Harpies in the tier list, like 5th deck, in my opinion. But still a pretty solid choice, and they definitely will see play at the event.
They will. Like he said, they are very hyped. I agree with the hype because this is a slower quote unquote format. That I could see why people would hype Gear, but honestly, they're gonna sit where they are behind Harpies and Gravekeepers, which the next deck is none other the infamous overhyped deck of the year, Gravekeepers.
Gravekeepers are terribly overhyped. With playtesting against the deck, I don't have any problems because the deck's too fair. Tomb can become a really dead card drawn because, like, if you want to set up your spy plays, you don't have access to your Tomb. And also, with like a 1 MST, can burn your 1 Tomb for the turn. So essentially, if you shut off their Necro Valley and they have no way into it, they could possibly have 3 dead cards in their deck. The support's actually really mediocre to where everyone thinks Gravekeeper is going to be broken. Tomb can be used against Gravekeepers too, which is really ridiculous. So
You're welcome for telling you that.
You have a face-up Gravekeeper and a Necro Valley. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Summon a 17 Recruiter? I mean, that's honestly your best play, and it's really not that good of a play.
Especially since pretty much every deck in this format has a beater bigger than Recruiter. I think the only 2 or 3 decks that don't are Geargia, Madolche, and Harpy. But Harpies can get their power boost from the Hunting Ground, so...
Madolche under Chateau.
Well, yeah. So the only deck that doesn't is Geargia, so I'll stand corrected. Now, I was all for Gravekeepers, as you can tell from my previous videos. I'm not even gonna lie, I was part of this bandwagon. I was part of starting the bandwagon because I've been playing Gravekeeper since Pharaonic Guardian. I've always held on to the deck, and I've still got all my original holos of the deck, like the original Ulti Commandants, Super Spies, and everything max rarity. And when I saw that they were going up because of Tomb and Shrine, the more I thought to myself, why? So I started playtesting more, and I realize now that Gravekeepers are too fair. They're kind of like what Fire Fist were during the Mermail format in terms of they're a really good deck, but they're too fair to do anything past being good. Like, sure, Tomb is an Infernity Barrier, but it's a once per turn Infernity Barrier that has a lot stricter requirements. And the 4 support cards and monsters that we get as of right now, Oracle is terrible. Shrine is basically just Vanity's Emptiness. Tomb is Infernity Barrier. And the only decent one in monster form is Disciple, and he's not even that good. Disciple gets Shaman, which Shaman's actually really decent. Shaman protects Necro Valley, and he's a face-up 1500 defender that's possibly 2000 actually under Necro Valley, plus that can possibly get bigger. So the deck has ways to be good. It really does. It's just that it's so hyped up to where the cards are overpriced. Like I was on eBay earlier today and I saw Ultra Recruiters for about $12 to $15. And if they're that high, I'm selling the deck because they don't deserve to be that high. The deck is super hyped. I'm the biggest fan of Gravekeepers you'll ever meet, and I still understand that the deck is not as good as people are giving it credit to be. It loses basically to the same thing that Gear Gia loses to, which is something people need to realize. It loses to decks like Fire Fist and Mermail that can just pop face downs or monsters on the field. It can lose to decks that can outgrind. Gravekeepers, even though they run just as many traps as Fire Fist, lose to Fire Fist because Fire Fist can outgrind them easily. And Fire Fist also side in Closed Forest.
Yeah, closed force completely shuts down Gravekeepers. To be able to keep their Necro Valley off the field, it takes away all of their 500 boosts, and it also takes away Tomb. So essentially, you're left with a bunch of weak monsters with some useless trap cards that aren't going to help you.
In all honesty, despite all the negativity we're giving Gravekeepers, it's still going to be a 1.5 deck, but it loses to Harpies way too easily, which Harpy loses to the other three matchups. So that puts Gravekeepers in the 5th spot for the top 5 decks, in my opinion.
I put GKs at 6 because I still think Gear is 5, but
regardless of where it goes, it's still a 1.5 deck. It's 5th or 6th, depending on how the meta shapes and if we get Gear Gia Augur or not. The deck's good. The deck's really good. It gets really good advantage off silly things like Descendant and Recruiter popping. It gets it doesn't really neg much when you bottomless or torrential unless you hit a spy when they flip it. The deck's good. It's really good. Tomb's a powerful card. Shrine's a powerful card. Necro Valley is obviously a powerful card. It's been a powerful card since it got created. It's just that it's too fair to be a tier 1 deck. Like a solid tier 1 or tier 0 deck is what people are giving it hype up to be at one point. Now, I could be completely wrong, mainly because we are getting a TCG exclusive that we have no idea what the hell it is yet. It could be the answer to the deck being fair. We don't know yet. But that's all I want to say on Gravekeepers, because I think that was like a little 5-minute mini hate discussion on Gravekeepers.
yeah, that's all I want to talk about too.
But the deck will be good. I expect to see it just because it's the hype train. And 2 decks that were on, well, that didn't get on the list, but were mentioned, and we just think they deserve to be talked about, are Heretics and Frogs. Frog Monarch is a deck that I feel will do really, really good in the upcoming format, mainly because Treeborn, Tribute Chaos, or Reza are really good cards. We saw it last format that controlling your opponent's draws with Phoenix Wing Wind Blast is a way to beat any deck. And what does Reza do? It's a Wing Blast that's a 24 beater.
Also, you have to look into Frog Narcs. They've been good they've been a decent option every format since I can remember playing the game. They have a lot of versatile cards that can shut decks down. Also, to be able to go triple tribute for Obelisk, I mean, I know that's more of a little bit of a long shot, but I don't know what decks can get over Obelisk in this format. Just saying.
I don't see any decks in this list that could get over Obelisk, and the only deck that can deal with Obelisk is Fire Kings, in all honesty.
Yeah. With the Grunix, and also to be able to go Vanity's Fiend against your Mermail matchup, and hope. And if they draw the infantry, they drew the infantry pike. So I mean, in all honesty, Frogs can be really versatile, and they can switch what they main up to compete with the format. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Monarch player top YCS Atlanta just because it's such a consistent deck, and people have been playing the deck for 4 years now. I mean, they've been playing the deck forever, so people know the deck. They've played the deck. They know what to do with the deck. They know how to beat what matchups, because they've been playing against Fire Fist since since Mermails. They've been playing Mermails for a while. They know what to do. So I mean, Frog Narcs are really underrated right now too.
And I'm gonna go and let you do your little discussion on Heretics. So go on and do your little rant on why you think they're gonna be good.
Well, you said it like you think they're going to be bad. I think Heretics are a good deck. I mean, they're the most OTK-oriented deck. They've pretty much been the most OTK-oriented deck, except for 2013 March, when we had to deal with the Dragon Rollers until September. And even last format, Heretics were still really close with Dragons on being able to put 8K on board. It just depends on your setup. A couple players have shown the prevalence of Heretics in a format like Paul Cooper has. He has the most tops of 2012, and the only deck he pretty much played for all of 2012 was Heretics. So, I mean, the guy knows what the deck can do. I know what the deck can do. I've been playing the deck since Galactic Overlord. Off and on. Like I said, the deck can put 8K on board. And while it's putting 8K on board, it can pop your whole field with, like, Sue and Net Pets. The deck can afford to take damage now because you're not getting hit with blasters every turn. You're getting hit with, like, bears. So, I mean, that's not as destroying. In your side deck options, you know, you can just be like, I got decrees, I got prohibitions. You know, you can side in pretty standard, I don't want to mess with this card they're going to side in for me type card. Like, you see it Encores against Opium and stuff. So, I mean, I think Heretics are a pretty decent deck for this format. If you like speed, if you like to OTK and you like to get the job done quick, then I'd play Heretics.
And if you can't afford Big Eye Draco Sack, I think they're a good alternative to Mermail.
Yeah, Mermail, usually Heretics don't have, like, a terrible matchup against anything either, except for, like, Constellar Evil Swarm. So, I mean, you can easily compete with Fire Fist. When I played the deck, I never really had a problem with Fire Fist unless they drew Rabbit, and Rabbit was a 2 back then. And then I never had a problem with Mermail unless they just blew me out with, like, double Dragoons. So, I mean, if the deck has decent matchups against the whole meta, I don't see any problems coming down the line because you can easily just put your monsters on the field, top their field, and then just go hard. So, I mean, Heretics are definitely should be considered to be a dark horse if someone that's half decent puts their hand on it for the YCS.
I see them doing good, but I feel post Atlanta, like, I think they're going to be a more regional based deck. I mean, mainly because YCS people want guaranteed results, and guaranteed results will easily be Fire Fist, Boojins, and Mermails.
Yeah, that's definitely what you got to consider. I mean, not all players. Something North, usually big for spellbooks, played Dark Worlds at a regional recently, top 8'd, and talking to him, he said he would never play the deck higher than a regional level because of stuff like YCS's nationals, etc. It's a bigger stage, and you want proven. So.
Yep, and that's gonna do it for our discussion, guys. If you enjoy these type of videos, these Deborah videos, let me know in the comment section down below. They take very little time and effort out of my day, so I don't mind making them for you guys. If you want to see more deck profiles of duels, also let me know in the comment section. Remember to check out Thomas's channel. I'll leave a link for it in the description. He's very new, like I said. He's got some pretty good content as of right now. He's got a couple decks for sale: Gear Gia, Infernity, Gadgets, I do believe, and Mermail.
Mermail.
So check out his channel if you want some cheap access to decks. We both will be going to YCS Atlanta on February 1st. Come up to us, say hi.
Hit us up. We'll meet up with you.
Unfortunately, nobody else on Afterlife will be going other than me. And yeah, just remember to check out Tom's channel. Check out his videos. Comment on them. Let him know what you think, and if you like him, and subscribe to his channel, and then come back and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. Chewy Party Team Afterlife and Thomas Daniels signing out.